Okay, I was just thinking about coming out and working on the property some today. We've not got a very big property, it's about 5 acres, and I'm trying to draw some deer in. We got a little setup here that used to be a playhouse, I guess, before we bought the place, and I'm trying to make it into a little shooting house to reach back up there. And when we first moved over here, there were quite a few deer. But, last year we had blue tongue move through the area, and it kind of got it in patches, took out population, and it just here and there, maybe like every other hollow or ridge. And ours was one of them that got wiped out. So I need to try to draw some more deer into the area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and work on the property some and get a little more conducive to drawing wildlife in, and just thinking about doing a food plot. You know, clearing some areas, maybe working on some bedding areas and everything. So I think I'm going to try and do a little bit of that today. Okay, so as you can see, this is pretty much the shooting lane I had this year. I had it cleared out a little better up through there and through there. And we had some trees fall on some power lines last year, and so the power company was sending a contractor out to cut some trees after I had worked on the property some. And on that biggest tree right there, I had a feeder, homemade feeder that I made. I'll show you that here in a minute. And I had a cam up there, trail cam. So when we got word they were going to be coming up and cutting some trees and everything, clearing that swath of any trees that might hit the power lines, I had to go back up and take down my feeder and my cam, and it just kind of put a stop on what I was doing here with the wildlife management of the property. And I kind of get a little disheartened with it, so I just let it sit. And as you can see, it's all the weeds grew back up by then, and I was able to go up through there and kind of stomp down and cut just a little bit to give me a little bit of a view to just come over and set a couple times this deer season, just see if anything went through, which I knew there probably wouldn't be. I think I've seen one doe come back through the area. So I'm going to start working on it for next year, and we're going to see, and I'm going to take you all along with me on this journey to see if I can get the property set up and draw in some sustainable deer to hunt this every year. I'm going to also be showing you guys the shooting house here, deer stand, and the evolution of it. So this should be a multiple part series I'm going to try to do. Okay, so that's the homemade deer feeder. You can see that's just out of some of the plastic ABS pipe. It's corrugated pipe there, and what I've done is at the bottom of it there, I've cut out a little notch, and whenever I put the corn in, that just gives it something to kind of feed out of. This was black pipe, and I camoed it And on top there, to cover it, I just took a piece of inner tube, like large truck inner tube, and cut a Ranger band out of that inner tube to kind of cap it off with. And I camoed that up too, and that can just be strapped to a tree filled with corn and left to kind of work for you. So I'm gonna see if that does any good. And I think I'm not sure if I'll put it back on the tree I showed you up here, that largest one there, or if I may go a little bit farther back. As you can see, I need to underbrush a little bit, get rid of some of the small spindly trees. I was in the process of doing that before I was stopped, so we'll see what we can make it into this year. Okay, as you can see, about 5 or 10 minutes of just cutting with some clippers, and that's got rid of some of the branches off that tree and a little bit of stuff, that down tree there, and a little bit of the stuff around it. Kind of give you a perspective. I need to go all the way around there, because I've got another shooting lane right up through there, and then out that way, probably easily the area of a football field. And if you go on down that way, that swath runs all the way down past the house. I'm probably about 100 yards away from my house right now, so I mean, it makes it easy to get to this shooting house. And I can only shoot uphill anyway, because if I go up there and I go to shoot downhill, I'm going to be shooting toward the road, and I hope you all know that's a no-no. And then whenever I go up into the tree line there, and I get rid of some small undesirable trees, maybe do some hinge cuts on some of them. And in that swath, that's where I was thinking about putting a food plot. And I need to I'm gonna probably dig a water hole too around somewhere. So I'll check back in with you guys in a bit. Okay, as you can see, cutting a few limbs out of that pine really opened up what you can see of the hillside there. Could probably still trim that bottom one. A few more little stragglers there that are hanging down. It's opening that up a lot. Vastly improve your shooting area. Okay, so here's an important consideration when working on your hunting area. This pine tree, I had considered multiple times cutting it down and just removing it, but I always second thought it because I liked the cover it provided. That's something you need to consider when working on your hunting area, is to take time to step back and look. You know, if you take the time to cut a little bit, step back, look at the angles, it's going to make a big difference, and make sure that you don't cut too much. you still want things to appear like they're there naturally. You know, I don't suggest just going in, especially in a wooded area like this. Don't go in and just clear cut everything. I mean, that's going to spook a human, much less an animal. Just try to go with the flow of the terrain. Okay, so you may hear some road noise. In the area I am in, it's not uncommon when you're in the woods, you're in the hills, to hear different roads. You know, you can actually kind of keep track of where you're at around here from the road noise, because it's almost like in every hollow, you know, there's a road running by. It's actually pretty busy today, but I'm not too concerned about that. You know, the deer hear the same noise all the time, and we got some serious deer trails that run through this property. You know, before the blue tone wiped us out, we'd have deer right down in the yard. They're used to it, and there's an added benefit to it, actually. When it means whenever I'm in the stand, I don't have to be too concerned about any little odd noise that I make. There's so much noise in the area that the deer are accustomed to. You know, if it were to get dead silent, it would probably alert them that you know, that it could be a bad situation. As long as I've been out working with power tools before and look up on the hill and there'd be 3 deer. So I'm really not too concerned about the road noise. It's hard in this area to get back to a spot where you don't hear any kind of human interactions going on. Somebody beating on something, working on something, traffic. You'll be in the woods up on a ridge, and you'll hear people down at houses hollering and stuff. It's just something we're accustomed to here, and it's something that the wildlife is accustomed to also. Okay, so I went up and cut for about 20-30 minutes more, and that lane showed up a lot. And let me see here. If you step out here, you'll probably get a little better look of it. So I still need to go that direction, and yeah, I've got a lot out that direction, so a little bit of progress at a time, but always take time to step back and inspect what you're doing and see if it's going as you planned. Okay, that gives you a little bit better idea of what I'm working with here. Cut some of that down, that fallen tree. And it's starting to open up. The distance between that fallen log there and the tree line is probably a good 25-30 yards. So you figure a swath 25 to 30 yards wide, going the length of 3 or 4 football fields. But I mean, a lot of that runs clear down in that direction toward the house, and then all the way out to our fence line that direction. And then get up into the trees. Zoom in a little bit. There's a lot of small little trees there that can come down And just a word, if you're doing this on your own property, you know, and you're an outdoor person, and you know, you like making sure that you have different types of natural materials on your property, be careful whenever you're cutting small trees and plants and everything. That's not something that you would want to use. Maybe a tree with medicinal purposes. This time of year, which it's really warm today for December, it's in the 60s today. It's really odd, but it's a nice day to get out and work like this. Give me a head start on getting all this ready, which a lot of the work will probably happen in the spring. But if you don't know particularly for sure what kind of tree it is, without, say, the leaves on it or anything, you can hold off and wait till spring, till it gets some leaves on it. You can tell that it's not something that you would want to hold on to. You know, don't just go in and cut willy-nilly. You know, take your time, step back, especially if it's an area you're going to be hunting. Step back to your deer blind, your hunting stand, whatever, and look at the angles and make sure you're staying where you have it planned out in your mind as to look like. You know, if this is a property that you own, you're going to own it maybe all your life. So you've got a lifetime to keep working on it. You know, develop it the way you want it. Take your time, plan it out, think about it, draw it out, and take pictures, you know, and decide how you want it to be and work toward that goal. And it's just little steps, which is pretty much all I can do nowadays. Little steps. My legs and hips and stuff are bothering me today. But I'm not trying to kill myself or anything. I'm just getting done what I can get done. And the more ground you open up, you know, the more ideas you have about things that you'd like to do. So just take your time and cut a little and look at it and think and plan, and you'll develop it into what you want it to be. Now shortly I'm gonna show you what I'm turning into a stand, and maybe it'll give you some ideas of your own. Okay guys, so as promised, right there is the Playhouse, which is becoming a deer stand. Now, that gives you all of that to hunt.